Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Anmoll Astrology channel. Now, today's video is about Jupiter retrograde, which has just recently gone retrograde on 29th of July 2022. It will remain retrograde for 119 days. Okay, so it will progress in November 2022. So, what I'll do is I'll explain what does a retrograde planet and specifically Jupiter means, what results does it have, right? And then we'll go from all the ascendants from Aries to Pisces so as to know what results will it give for each and every ascendant. Now, let me tell you guys, whenever we judge transit, we have to do that from the ascendant, right? The priority remains from the ascendant because ascendant transits from the ascendant means that how a planet is actually going to give its result. And from the moon, it will mean that how you are going to feel emotionally. But it doesn't mean that from moon, it is not going to give effects. It will definitely give effects. Okay? It's just the priority is given to the natal chart, it is given to the ascendant, right? Because what is bound to happen is happen, but that is not flexible, that cannot be changed. But what will you feel about it, that is flexible and that can be changed, right? So, we'll start with the analysis. Before that, let me tell you, to see how Jupiter reacts in the sign of Pisces, you can go and check out my video, the previous video, which was major transits of 2022. In that, I have explained briefly about how Jupiter is going to behave in Pisces along with other transits. Because, just one transit is not going to decide everything, right? So, whenever a transit happens, other transiting planets are also affecting that particular planet, right? So that's why you can go and watch that video and then refer to this video for the retrogression. Okay, so you know, with the retrogression part, first of all, what is retrogression? It's simply when a planet changes its motion. Like, for example, this is a pen, right? Actually, yeah, this is a pen. So when I have to use this pen or I have to make this of some work, I have to make this productive, I have to use it like this. So this is its original motion, or you can say original figure. So what if my pen is like this? It's what we call as in reverse motion. It's in reverse direction. So what I'll have to do to make it work? I'll have to push it down. I'll have to make a lot of effort, make it straight, and then use it as a pen. So, what happens when a planet is retrograde? The more karma is paid off regarding this particular planet, the more it matures and becomes like this. Now, does that means that with time this planet will become in direct motion? It will no longer be retrograde? No, that's not all. It's just for the purpose of making you understand that how to judge a retrograde planet. So what happens? The more karma is paid off, the more straight it become, and then it gives its results. But before that, it just gives you lessons. The more you reverse, what you'll have to do here? You'll have to put efforts, right? You'll have to put efforts and make it straight. I know that's easy to do that, but still, just understand hypothetically, it's a bit difficult. You are putting some effort to make it straight. So, a lot of efforts is required regarding whatever is ruled by that particular planet. So, what happens with Jupiter retrograde? Jupiter is what? Jupiter is teachings, higher wisdom. It is also one part of your communication skills, because Mercury is communication, but Jupiter is how how you're communicating things. Like Mercury is the communication, but are you like communicating about wisdom? Are you communicating about moral duties, or you're communicating about something practical? That's Jupiter, because Jupiter is your morals. Jupiter naturally rules the ninth and the 12th house. Right? Ninth house is your higher knowledge, your higher wisdom. It's the house of higher understanding, spirituality. 12th house, house of spirituality, your subconscious mind. What do you feel? What do you think here? More than the brain, the part of your brain, the right side of your brain which is active, right? More than that, your left part of your brain is working, because left part is basically the subconscious. It is the part which takes you to the astral world, right? So 12th house is actually extremely important, right? So Jupiter rules both of these houses. That means that Jupiter actually will tell what your thinking pattern is, what your morals are. So Jupiter is about teachings. What teachings do you get? Now, why a debilitated Jupiter gets harsh lessons in life? You'll always see with people with Jupiter as debilitated, what happens with them is they get harsh practical lessons in life, like practical struggle with money. Okay. And with Jupiter exalted, these people get, lessons about the emotions, although they are luckier people, right? Because Jupiter is exalted here. The most benefit planet is in most strength here. But what happens with them is they always feel that they don't need to get lessons, they already know everything. So that's the difference, right? So now when Jupiter, being a very like benefit planet and being a very heavy planet, when it goes retrograde, what happens is that a person gets lessons in their life early on, especially till the age of 21 or 22. These people, everything that happens in their life, that comes with some wisdom to be learned. Okay, so this time when Jupiter is going to get retrograde, we all are bound to learn some lessons regarding that area wherever it is going retrograde. This is the fundamental meaning, and rest depends upon what your ascendant is, what your moon sign is, then what planet it is transiting over, what house it is transiting over. So there are a lot of factors to be considered. But right now we are going to talk about the uh, fundamental predictions, right? So this may or may not resonate 100% with everyone, because this is actually going to resonate with few people, and there are conditions that which people are going to feel most of the effects of Jupiter retrograde. Now, do you think that is it possible? Like I have seen a lot of astrologers posting on videos like this sign, that sign is going to get affected the most with this retrograde. But this happens. This actually doesn't happen that way. What happens is if there are some conditions. First, if you are going through Jupiter Mahadasha or Antadasha, then this Jupiter retrograde is going to affect you. If you have your Jupiter retrograde in your natal chart, then this is going to affect you. Okay. So these two are the conditions that have to be present. so as to see the results. But what if these two things are not present? What then? It is going to affect you, but to some extent only. You'll get effects of the other transits more than this transit. Simple. So now we are going to start with the analysis, right? I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Okay. So this is the chart we have, right? Now, when Jupiter went retrograde was 29th of July at 2:06 a.m. That was the time when Jupiter was retrograde. At this time, Saturn was also retrograde. Actually, Jupiter was on the stationary moment. It was not exactly retrograde, but I think as we are going to proceed, yeah. So it was this time by 3 o'clock, it started retrograding on 2:06, okay, 2:06 a.m. But it actually was in the process of retrogression at 3 a.m. And then it was just going on with the process. What do you think? When a planet like Jupiter, which is the heaviest one, it is retrograding. Do you think this is going to retrograde like simply? Just reversed. Oh, sorry. Just reversed. And done. No. So what happens is whenever a planet goes retrograde, it has to be stationed for some time. What does stationed means? It just stops right there. It is just at the static position. And then it rotates. Then after some time, it starts moving. Okay. So this is the chart for Jupiter retrograde, and it is starting with the Taurus ascendant. So what we are going to do is we are going to start with the Taurus ascendant and we are going to move ahead till Aries. So for Taurus ascendant, the 11th house, Jupiter is in the 11th house. Now what happens is that with the retrogression part, why a planet goes retrograde? Most of the time what happens is the planet goes retrograde and it enters the previous sign, like Saturn did. Saturn was in the sign of Aquarius and it retrograde and went back to Capricorn because it had some unfinished karmas to pay off. It had some unfinished tasks to be done, right? So that's why it changed its place. So for Jupiter is not going to travel back into the sign of Aquarius. This time, for this year, it is going to stay in the sign of Pisces. Actually, throughout the Pisces sign, it is going to stay. It is not going to go back. Although last time it did go back into the sign of Capricorn from the sign of Aquarius. But this time it's not going to go. Right? So that means the karma is mostly related to the sign and placement of the sign of Pisces. But it will affect the house which is just previous one from wherever Jupiter is transiting. So the most of the effects will be seen to the sign of Pisces, to the sign of Aquarius, and to the sign of Virgo, because it is directly opposite to it. Okay. So for this time, for a Taurus ascendant, what will happen is, okay, let me tell you one more thing. So for when Jupiter is going retrograde, there is Saturn, which is giving its third aspect to Jupiter, and it is already retrograde. Saturn is already in a, you can say in not, I won't say in a difficult position, but I would say it is in a different position than its usual one. Why? Because it is retrograde. Although it is in its own sign, but it is already retrograde. And it is giving its third aspect to Jupiter. And the third aspect is most malevolent for Saturn. It's most harmful aspect of Saturn, you can say, right? So here, wherever the third aspect of Saturn goes, it makes you put a lot of efforts towards that area. So what will happen is, whatever results that Jupiter is going to give, Saturn is going to make it a bit difficult. You are going to push a lot harder, more than usual. If you're giving your 100%, you are meant to give your 200% here, so as to connect with this benefic Jupiter. Okay, because of the third aspect of Jupiter. Third aspect is the aspect of courage. It is the third house. What is natural third house? It is skills, it is communication, it's your efforts, it's your courage. So all these things are required double the time, so as to fulfill the purpose or the karma of Jupiter. So now let's start with the Taurus ascendant people. So for a Taurus rising individual, Jupiter is in the 11th house. And it will affect the 10th house, the 5th house. Why the 10th house? Because it is retrograde right now. It's also looking towards the previous house. So something related to your career, which was not taught you before, or the lessons which were not learned by you before, that you are going to learn now. And after learning that particular lesson, you're going to get whatever job, whatever recognition you are expecting with regards of your career. It also means for Taurus ascendant people who are trying to conceive or have a baby, there are chances that these people may get that opportunity. The other thing that, and why is that so? Because it is retrograde and it is affecting the 5th house heavily. It also reflects a love marriage for a Taurus ascendant person. There can be chances that between August to November, this person can have a love marriage, or simply a love encounter can start, a love relationship can start. Okay, so this is actually the time which is most concerned or concentrated on the career and the children, education, the love, romance, and recognition part for a Taurus ascendant. But Saturn is going to make it difficult because of its third aspect. So what you need to do is you need to put a lot of efforts within that, okay, within fulfilling the purpose of Jupiter. There are some lessons to be learned. Rest, it depends that which planet Jupiter is transiting on, and whichever dasha you're going on with. Okay, now next will be Gemini ascendant. So for Gemini ascendant, Jupiter is in the 10th house. It is going to affect the 10th house, the 9th house, and the third house. Sorry, the 4th house. There are chances that this person, now the career is going to affect. There are chances that a Gemini individual looks for some higher education, considers to go for higher education just in order to get a better career for themselves. And for that, they might have to travel, shift their residence, or they have to make a significant change within their home or within wherever they are living. This change can be even shift of residence. Okay, and that I can say because of the Saturn being in the eighth house as well. And this time is actually, I would say, if their father is expecting some money through inheritance, there are good chances that these people are going to get that. Their father are going to get that. Why? Because ninth house is getting affected, and Jupiter is second from the ninth house, and Saturn is 12th from the ninth house, and it is activated. It is transiting, right? So these results can happen here. Other thing is that these people have to take some responsibility regarding their career. There can be some heaviness or heavy responsibility that they have to take because of their career. Now here I remember one more point, that Jupiter, wherever it transits, brings in responsibility through that house. Okay, so for a Gemini ascendant, these are the results that you can expect. Then for a Cancer ascendant, for a Cancer ascendant, the Jupiter transit is happening in the ninth house, and then it is also affecting the eighth house and the third house. So here, a Cancer ascendant person is most likely to get married if they are planning on getting married, right? Why? Because Saturn is in the seventh, Jupiter is aspecting with its ninth aspect on the fifth house. It is already in the ninth house. It is also affecting the eighth house. So that means shift of residence. Like if you are a Cancer ascendant, a female Cancer ascendant, you're most likely to travel at a distance. You're going to get married and travel at a distance, change or shift your residence. Other than this, a Cancer ascendant person, if those people are trying to go for some education, higher education, like post graduation, this is the best time that this is going to happen. Maybe for you were giving some entrance exam for that, and that didn't go well at first, and now maybe the second attempt is somewhat around between August to November. Now in this attempt you might clear that. Okay, and because it is affecting the third house as well, this transit is going to bring in some new skills, some writing or some sort of skills that you do with your hands. So those things are going to activate it, and for this time there can be chances that you're mostly concentrated on your health as well. Health as in your physical health, your physique. You may try to join some gym, some sports or anything like that, so as to become fit or have a leaner body. And there will be some responsibility, some heavy responsibility regarding the spouse and regarding your father. So there are some lessons to be learned with that. Okay, but this time is actually good in terms of career for your father, but it can be difficult for your mother, for her health. So ask her to take extreme care of her health. Okay, then now Leo people. For Leo ascendant, Jupiter is going to transit in the eighth house. It is going to affect the seventh house and the second house. Now, even this transit tell me that there might be some opportunity of love or marriage. Not necessarily love, I would say, but marriage that was about to happen or you were considering before, but it didn't happen. Now there are chances that that might take place. But what I see is that there can be starting of a relationship, or there can be like starting of the talks of marriage, but it will finally take place after some significant time, like good 6 to 8 months. Why? Because till then, Saturn is going to come to the seventh house and Jupiter is going to transit in the ninth house. And that is the time when actually the marriage will happen. Okay. So, apart from this, I do see that such a person might deal, a Leo ascendant person might deal with insurance money, inheritance money, or something related to finances, which will abruptly come into light. And be very, very, very careful with your health, because you see, Saturn is in the sixth house. It has come retrograde and come to the sixth house. Then Jupiter is in the eighth house. It has gone retrograde. Both the Dushtana houses are there. So both are not at all very good for the health. And other than this, the ascendant lord is going into the 12th house. And it is making, in a way, Amavasya, although moon has passed the degrees of sun, so it is actually a new moon, but still it makes the Amavasya yoga. So be very careful with your health. Right? And there can be some sort of case that you have to case, or legal matters that you have to deal with. Okay? What has just happened? Okay. So I don't know why, but my laptop just got hanged, and it has happened just for the first time ever, you know? So yeah. Okay. Now, next will be the Virgo ascendant people, or Virgo moon, you can say. So here, the transit is happening in the seventh house. Jupiter is going retrograde in the seventh house. It is affecting the seventh, the sixth, and the first house. It means that there are some sort of debts that you had. You might have to deal with them. Most likely, you are going to pay them off. And because the Saturn is affecting the fifth house and Jupiter is affecting the seventh house, there are more chances that you can have a child. If this is chart of a female, then there are chances that the child is going to born. Like, this is the time when the child is going to take the birth. But if this is a chart of a male, if you are a Virgo ascendant and you are male, this means that the initiation of the process has been done. Like, that means that your wife might have conceived during this time. Okay? Because there's a difference for how to predict when a child is going to come into life and when the conception happens. So there's a difference, because when for a woman, okay, fourth house needs to be activated when she has to conceive, but when fifth house gets activated, she gives birth, right? And for a man, the fifth house needs to be get activated just to make it conceive, right? So the other thing that you can see with Virgo people is that there can be some unresolved conflict related to the marriage that might take place, and they have to deal with that. They have to learn lesson from that. The other thing that I see is that if you are a Virgo ascendant and you're going through a divorce, you're most likely to get some result out of it. Okay. Other than this, your fifth and seventh house are strongly activated because of Saturn and because of Jupiter. So there's some heavy karma and heavy lessons that you need to learn from your children and your spouse part. This can even mean a marriage for an individual. So if you are a Virgo ascendant and you are planning to get married, you can do that. Like that is most likely to happen within this time frame, like 29 July to November. Okay. So now Libra ascendant. For Libra ascendant, Jupiter is transiting the sixth house. And it is retrograde. It is affecting the fifth house and the 12th house. Now, if you are planning to change your residence, like if you are planning to travel at a distance, if you are planning to file some visa and go overseas, maybe you have tried it earlier, but it did not succeed. Now, you might reapply for that and it will succeed. So your 6th and 12th axis is heavily activated. And it can be more so for the education part. Why? Because the 5th house is also getting activated. It is also getting affected. And Saturn from the 4th is initiating some change in your home environment. Now with this, if you had some debts that might resurface, with this Jupiter in the 6th house, that gives some heavy responsibility regarding your nutrition, your health. So there can be chances that you have to have a systematic routine. You'll be bound to have a systematic routine so as to have a healthy body. Your health is going to make you do that. Okay. So now next one, but you're going to make a lot of efforts to do that. Let me tell you that, because of the third aspect of Saturn, right? Now, next will be Scorpio. So for a Scorpio rising individual, the Jupiter is transiting the 5th house, right? In the sign of Pisces, and Saturn is transiting in the 3rd house. Both are in their own signs. Right? So Jupiter is affecting the 4th house, the 5th house, and the 11th house. Now, if this is a chart of a female, if you are a Scorpio ascendant and you are a female, you can expect the birth of the child in this time. Okay, actually, it can happen during this time, or whenever Jupiter is in the direct motion in Pisces also. But for this time, there can be chances that you go for some online diploma. You start some education part. You start some creative writing or any creative skill. So this is a very good time to start something. Okay. So most of the results are going to be received regarding the 4th and the 5th house. Maybe you are planning to change the aesthetic of your home, the interiors of your home. Okay, so this is going to happen with the Scorpio ascendant people. If a Scorpio ascendant individual is planning to get married, so there can be chances they'll have a love marriage during this time. Okay, So now next will be Sagittarius. So for a Sagittarius individual, Jupiter is in the fourth house. It is affecting the third house and it is affecting the 10th house. So that means that such a person, for a Sagittarius individual, they are going to get some major responsibility regarding the home. There are some lessons that are to be learned regarding the communication part and regarding the home. And since Saturn is affecting the second house and Jupiter is affecting the fourth house, there can be chances that a Sagittarius individual will have a marriage or career upliftment or a baby. If you are a Sagittarius individual and you are a female, there are chances that you conceive. If you are a Sagittarius male, then that might not happen because it's the fourth house of nourishment, the fourth house of that, area, the womb area, that is getting activated because of Jupiter. Maybe you have tried it earlier, but it did not happen. But because of Jupiter going retrograde within the sign of Pisces and Saturn coming to second house, let me tell you that is the actually most important factor. If Saturn was in Aquarius and then this was about to happen, it might not have come into place. Okay, because Saturn is not, because whenever the second house gets activated, the second house gets activated, fourth, seventh, ninth houses get activated. That means there's an addition of someone in the family. But right now, what is happening is the second and the fourth house is getting mostly activated. That means there's the addition of a person, but it can be through the source of womb. So it is initiation of that. The other thing is, for such a person, because Jupiter is in the fourth house, there can be some changes regarding the home and regarding the career. See, wherever Jupiter is putting its aspect, there is the blessings which are coming, right? But wherever it is sitting, there's the responsibility. So Jupiter sitting in the fourth house means you have to learn some wisdom and lesson regarding the home, regarding the mother. And 10th house is receiving the seventh aspect. That means your people are going to be very supportive of you. You might gain fame during this time, or you might gain something related to the career. There might be promotion. And you might also take up some education part. You might study for a while. Why? Because Rahu is in the fifth. Okay. Now let's come to Capricorn. So if you are a Capricorn ascendant or Capricorn moon, your Jupiter is transiting the third house and it is affecting the second house and the ninth house. So the third and ninth axis simply means that either you're going to travel, like with Saturn in the ascendant, I do see the travel might have been delayed, or it might have given you like a lot of pressure on your mind. So with Jupiter going retrograde here, Jupiter is actually highly activating the ninth house. So it will create that travel, long distance travel. Or if you're planning to have something, doing something in writing, publishing, and if your chart is supportive of that, there are chances that you might start with that. But something related to your personality is going to come into light. It can even be that you might have attention of people or public for some sort of some skill of yours. Like if suppose you are a Capricorn ascendant and you're trying to publish a book, or you're trying to become a writer or a novelist, there are chances that your book can excel, or something you write will come into light with people. Something you have written on the social media that is going to give you a lot of attention, because of which you're going to run towards privacy, towards home, because your Rahu is in the fourth and Ketu is in the seventh. So for this time, what I think on a whole is that you're going to make some major decision regarding your career, and you might take on some passion of yours to pursue. Okay, now next will be Aquarius people. So if you have Aquarius ascendant or Aquarius moon, your Jupiter is transiting into the second house. It is affecting the first and the eighth house. Now, this tells me that during this time, your career will get started. Like, not career, I would specifically say, but you'll start earning money. Your money source will get activated, but you'll have to take up some responsibility regarding the finances of your family. You might have to provide them financially. Rather, I would say you must provide them financially. Although with Saturn in the 12th house, there is some subconscious build up. The pressure is building up. Slowly and steadily, the sleeps are getting disturbed because of some monetary issue, or just for the sake of that your age. Like suppose you are 24, 25, or maybe more than that, and you're just thinking of like, now I need to start money, now I need to like earning money, and now I need to start something of my own. So because nothing happens with an easy mindset. You will get a lot of pressure so as to become something. When you are going to start something from scratch, you have to give it 100 or 200% to that. And naturally, your stars are going to push you, even if you don't want to get there. Right? So for an Aquarius ascendant, there is going to be something major that is going to happen around the financial and the family part. And their personality is actually under the process of transformation right now. Aquarius individuals. This time can also, like, when Saturn is going to come into the ascendant in direct motion and Jupiter will remain in the second house, there are good chances of these people getting married. And even it'll be a good chance of getting some career upliftment as well. You will be recognized for your work, but it will come after a lot of criticism and judgment from other people, because nothing comes easy. Now next is Pisces. So for a Pisces individual, Jupiter is actually in the ascendant, and Jupiter rules the sign of Pisces, and it is in the ascendant. So it is already strong. Saturn is in the 11th house. So this person, if this person is into some fame business, they are going to get good fame during this time. Because the lords of the first house, the 10th house, the 11th house are strongly placed, but they are retrograde. That means there are some opportunities that were there in the past, but you didn't grab them. So the lesson is to be learned now and then proceed forward. So this is a very good time for Pisces individuals. Their personality is going to groom. And this also tells me that if you are planning for marriage, that can happen. If you're planning to have a child, even that can happen. Because you see, the 5th aspect is on the 5th house, the 7th aspect is on the 7th house, and Saturn is directly aspecting the 5th house. So the double aspect is on the 5th house. So, one more thing that you need to understand is that Jupiter and Saturn both are aspecting the sign of Cancer. So the sign of Cancer is also one sign which is going to get, or wherever your Cancer sign is placed, you're going to get major effects related to that area. Okay, because both Jupiter and Saturn are looking towards the sign of Cancer, right? So for a Pisces individual, the 12th house is also getting affected. So something related to, what I personally think is, for Pisces individuals, something spiritual encounter is going to happen. Although, we all know that Pisces people are intuitively very high. And with Jupiter coming there, their intuition is working heavily. So there are some things which are related to the 12th house that might happen. Some lessons are to be learned. Right? Now, lastly, we have Aries ascendant. So for Aries ascendant, Jupiter is transiting the 12th house. Saturn is in the 10th house. So when Jupiter is in the 12th house and it is going to be retrograde, there are chances that you might have to go to hospitals. That can be for yourself or for someone else in your family, maybe. Then for your work, you have to do some creative endeavors. Your subconscious, you'll make a lot of efforts so as to use your subconscious or your imagination at work. Suppose you are a designer, so as to get a good recognition for your work, so as to present a very good work, your imagination, you have to use your imagination, and you have to make 200% of your efforts so as to do that work, so as to make that imagination happen. And if that happens, your life is good. Because, Jupiter and Saturn are the planets who go retrograde so as to give you a harsh lesson. But if you get that lesson, if you understand that lesson, they are going to give you very positive results. So for an Aries ascendant, I think their time is majorly focused on work and career right now. Okay. So guys, this was my analysis. I'll just stop sharing. Yeah. So this was my analysis on this Jupiter retrograde in the sign of Pisces. I hope it was helpful, right? And if you guys are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And if you want to get your personal consultations from me, you can check out the link below, www.anmollastrology.com. And under the consultation section, you can book a personal reading for yourself. I also have some unique readings for people who are known to astrology, who know a little or a little deeper about astrology. So there's a section of unique readings where I give readings which are like dasha analysis, nakshatra analysis, and tribhagi analysis. So that's something you can go ahead with, and I'll mention the link below for the major transits video, right? And you can have a look over there, because that is more explanatory part for the 2022 transit. Okay, so I hope this was helpful for you guys. Bye bye, take care.